On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, Kevin Garnett says Westbrook has that dog in him. How does that compare to other dogs of the Jokic era? Is the offense or the defense a bigger concern in this upcoming season? Is it possible this is the first year the offense is the concern? And then we're making prop bets for tomorrow's quarterfinal game for Jokic and Murray. This is DNVR Nuggets. That sounds about right. That's
I would believe it. Yeah.
That probably is a thing that could happen. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR show. Man, a little two-man game action. When was the last time we had a two-man game?
Oh, man. Back to our lockdown days.
Oh, man, is that right? That's what's going on here? Do you remember when we did? Really, the first version of the DNVR show was when we went to my house and filmed the Denver Stiff Show.
I thought the set we were going to spend all this time building out was your basement. But here we are in a bar. We've come a long way.
And in some ways, that is the humble beginnings of the entire, this live show thing. Is we were like, what if we just made videos instead of writing articles and talk? And it was like a ton of work.
It was.
We didn't have a Kale.
We didn't. Yeah, that. By the way, that's the key. If you're out there, like, how do I start find a producer? For sure.
It is true to say that Kale, prior to all of this, total disaster. We brought you in, and now it's a show.
Hey, that's how it works, man. It takes a team, bro. It takes a team.
It does take a team. We do have this great show for you. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. We're very close. Have you looked at the weather? Is this a thing you do?
No.
Like, you don't look at the 10-day?
No. Lately, I've just assumed it's going to be hot. That's kind of been my...
Kale, do you look at the 10-day?
Yeah. Big weather study.
You see what's coming up.
Thursday, we're out in the woods.
We might be done with this, intense, ridiculous heat, man. We might be in, pre-fall. The tune-up to fall, which is the top season in all of Colorado.
I'm so ready, dude. It's one thing with the heat, but we got air quality issues lately. I'm not even walking into work right now, Adam, so maybe that's why it feels like my spark's gone.
So I'm excited for that, but I'm more excited because the Russell Westbrook thing has been such a long buildup that it almost feels weird talking about. But sometimes you get this new morsel, right? You get this new thing that pops up that gives you a little perspective. And we got one of those over the weekend. Over the weekend, Kevin Garnett did a podcast. Do you want to introduce this? It's your thing here.
Yeah, sure. Kevin Garnett was speaking with Stephen A. about who reminds him in the current NBA the most of him. And of course, basketball fans, Kevin Garnett, famous for, I would say, having that dog in him.
S-tier dog.
S-tier dog.
And he was one of my favorite, some people use, Dylan Brooks has that dog in him. Kind of uses it in an idiotic way. You know what I mean? I think KG is perhaps the best. I'd have to think about this more than 1 second, but perhaps the best all time at harnessing that dog in him.
Yeah, channeling it totally, man. And
pure emotion. So
when asked about who reminds him of him, he picked Denver Nugget, Russell Westbrook. Kel, I think we have the clip. Oh, sorry. No,
man, that was the world's longest.
I actually felt like it was such a smooth toss.
It was a long runway. Kel was basking in the compliment.
Yeah, I know. We just complimented him too. Unbelievable.
Kel sitting back, just feeling great.
In the NBA, past or present, most reminds you of yourself. I ain't talking basketball. I'm talking about your mentality.
When I sat down and talked to Russell Westbrook a couple times, and if you've ever sat down with him,
deep brother,
and it's real. So
real
today,
and raw.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Not a fake bone in his body.
Man, it was dope to talk to him, Stephen A. And he felt like an old soul. I felt like he was an old cousin that I ain't know I had. He works at a high engine, which is why he's always hurt, which is why he's nicked up every now and then. But he's going a million miles. That's like the closest thing I can embody. I would hear all these tales of Michael Jordan, how he practiced, and I thought I was an outsider with that until I started meeting other people that had that same kind of feel. Russell Westbrook probably energetically and wholesomely reminds me of myself.
He the kind of cat you want in the foxhole with you. What?
Man,
First of all, S-tier conversation.
and it's so good. I like him so pumped
I
up.
was just locked in.
Stephen A. Honestly, people give it. Stephen A. is amazing. He does 12 hours of television a day. As somebody
don't
that
know
does
how-
3
I don't know
podcasts
how
a
he
day,
does it.
I'm exhausted. He does that times 4, and with travel and everything else.
It's honestly like he's like the fifth element. It's unbelievable.
But when somebody matches his energy, when
Yes.
somebody brings that, he really does like get to that. And that you're right, man. First note, that conversation, I want to be in that conversation as an observer.
gripping. When he just brings it up a notch,
Yeah.
kind of guy you want to be in the foxhole with you. I was like, yeah, dude, I'm pumped. But also, Adam, I think some of this is real analysis.
No, it's all real. This is all real.
I think coming from Kevin Garnett. Oh, I mean, as in terms of like some stuff you're grasping for straws, yeah. But I think if you're trying to look at what you can be hopeful about with the Westbrook acquisition,
Yeah.
I really do think it starts here. I think it starts with this stuff because, in my opinion, for years, man, we have talked about a lack of dog on the Nuggets roster, with the notable exception of Bruce Brown. Year they won the title. We don't bring guys up a lot as dogs in Denver. And Westbrook, like or dislike, I do think you start there, much like Kevin Garnett.
Dude, that energy is needed, man. And I will say this, Kevin Garnett, if I was building the perfect Jokic roster,
Oh, man.
Kevin Garnett might be my power forward.
Yeah.
He might be. If I was just building it all out and trying to think about, especially if it was like, no, you're going to play the Jokic system. I'm not giving him Michael Jordan and this or that, and, whatever. No, you're just going to play the Jokic ball. Him in the Aaron Gordon role, first of all, is one of the best defensive players of all time. Versatile. He does have enough of a jump shot that he could space the floor, and then you put him in the dunker on that role offensively. I'm sorry, it's over. He's murdering you.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he brings an energy and athleticism that, obviously plays off Jokic. So when he says Russell Westbrook, and by the way, Westbrook and Garnett, they do have the same energy.
They do.
It's that dog funneled in a way that somehow reaches every cell of his body.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
just like, it's for showmanship or this or that. It's like they really live that. And I'll tell you, I have heard, sometimes we speculate on the show. It's just, us talking, we try to differentiate, but sometimes it really is like, man, I've been hearing this or that. The reason that Jokic was interested in bringing him in was that. He's real. Jokic loves real.
Yeah.
The NBA is full of guys that are not real. There's full of guys that think there's something that they're not and
No
try
kidding.
to play up to it. It's like there's a lot of those guys. Money tells people things. But he's real. And when he says, I just had a conversation with him, man, and I could feel that energy. I think that's what Jokic loves about, or one of the things he loves about him. And I think that Jokic probably appropriately senses that this team needs that energy so bad. And that's why I think conversation even is going to change with the team.
Yeah, there is a sense of urgency to Russell Westbrook's like energy that
Yep.
I think is probably needed right now. Of just a little bit of like just always moving forward, always pushing forward. And I think Kevin Garnett would probably be the kind of guy that if you were a rookie for, like if he says carry the bags, you carry the bags. But you're also following his lead in like his mentality, how hard he works. So I think Westbrook, he's had his tiffs with media and fans.
Oh, yeah, he's not going to be bringing that energy to me.
But by all accounts, teammates have liked him.
Yeah.
And loved him even. And I think like this is a guy who's a professional. Like he's almost angry about it. But he's in early. He's getting reps up. He's playing as hard as he can. Sometimes it's gambles on defense. Sometimes, but it's always this full steam ahead, embracing the sort of moment right in front of you. And I think Denver is so good, but they do have this. If you're nitpicking, they do have this sort of complacency at times.
Yeah.
And I think he's the right guy to just in terms of will and personality and general presence kind of help break that.
But I think it's also even beyond that, because I think you're right that it's a deficiency. But also, man, there are just dynamics that are needed in any social group.
Yeah.
There's energy that you need in any social group, and you can have all the boxes checked but one. It's like if I made the world's perfect meal, steak, and everything else, but I just didn't put any seasoning on the steak. Could still be good, natural flavored steak, but it won't be as good. Sometimes the seasoning, you would never say the salt's the most important ingredient, but you throw some on and you're like, oh, now this meal came together. The best case scenario for Westbrook is that he is bringing that energy. It's energy. And you're not just bringing it to practice. Oh, we showed up and he's playing hard. You bring it to the plane.
Yeah.
You bring it
Yes.
to everything. And I'll give you an example that I had heard from over the weekend. He arrives, signs his contract. He's in Denver. Nobody else is here. But he's in the locker room and he looks around. There's a mess. There's a mess in the locker room, man. Some guys' locker room not tidied at all. And where are they? Off gallivanting off of their vacations around the globe. So he hops on the phone. Not even on the team yet, or he just signed the contract. He's barely part of the team. And here he is saying, hey, man, that's last year. We're not doing that this year. We're cleaning up our play. You're cleaning up your space. This is a work environment. Clean up your desk. Get your feet off the coffee table, man. And in a way that was not annoying. It was in a way that was like, all right, I like that. I like that energy. I just think that is the thing. Like, look, there's a million reasons to be worried about the Westbrook experiment. I'm not going to try to oversell anybody on this. But if you would have asked me 10 years ago what matters in basketball, X's and O's, all these different things, 10 years of talking to people, being behind the scenes and just observing, I'm like, man, these personalities, the leadership, that kind of stuff matters so much more than I would have thought 10 years ago. And that, to me, I think the Nuggets are going to have a tidy locker room next year, maybe the tidiest of the Jokic era.
Who are your vets? And I think in this case, it's not a quiet locker room presence, man. It's not, and I'm excited about it because I just think that. Look, all right, here's a hype, and it's a hypothetical, of course. So I can't give him credit for something that hasn't happened. But I just don't think Westbrook would have gotten up there and been like, yeah, man, we were just too tired. We just didn't want it enough if they blew a 20-point lead. Now, does that manifest in a win? Does him being on the court make them better? To be seen. But a part of me just feels like there was something weird about the way that almost everyone on the team was like, yeah, we're not going to get this one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, man. I didn't like the way that the inevitable was accepted. The seemingly inevitable. And I feel like Westbrook, just by like the principle of of his personality, I think would have pushed against that.
And it made us think, as we were preparing for the show, who are the top 5 got that dog in them players of the Jokic era? And really, we're going to frame this as Jokic teammates. So we're taking Jokic out of the equation. Yeah. He's hard to quantify the dog in him. He clearly has enormous amount of dog, but it manifests itself in different ways. Top dogs. Do we have it, Kale? Are we ready to fill this out? Top dogs. I honestly think number 1 is going to be Russell Westbrook, in part because I think he's like a top 5 got that dog player in him all time. Yeah. And now he's on the Nuggets.
I can't believe it. I can't believe that Russell Westbrook is a Denver Nugget. But yeah, I think it's you start with that, and I think athleticism. If you were just describing Russell Westbrook to someone who had never seen him play somehow, like KG before him, dog is not just a trait, but maybe his Hall of Fame trait first and foremost.
I think number 2 is actually Bruce Brown. I think Bruce Brown is cut from the Westbrook cloth. I honestly think they have pretty similar energies. Bruce, a little bit of a lesser player, and maybe he doesn't have the if Bruce Brown had the status of Westbrook, a former MVP, got average triple-double, they might be matched on this.
Yeah.
But as such, he didn't have the stature to be a full Westbrook.
No, but there was something about the way the starting 5 would operate like such a well-oiled machine. But unless Murray was angry for some reason, it was also matter-of-fact, Spurs-like.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Brown would come in and just kind of add the FU cherry on top of it all. Or the team was in a D-line's favorite word, malaise.
Yeah.
And he would be the guy that would come in off the bench and just switch gears himself. So that was needed.
I think we're through the part of the list where the guys have complete dog. They have a dog. They just bring energy to everything. I think there's only 2 players that maybe you could say that about. There's one other guy I could maybe say this about. So now we have guys who have that dog in them in like specific scenarios. And number 3, we went with Jamal Murray. Say what you will about him, but the guy does have the dog in him when the pressure is at the highest. And that's part of having that dog in you.
Dude, I mean, that's like the lows lately have been like, where is the dog?
Yeah.
But the highs are all time. Like everyone talks about Jimmy Butler. Like Jamal had the ultimate Jimmy Butler run alongside Jokic.
Yeah.
Not even I figured this out. I'm just going to want it more than you on a level that manifests in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that so Murray has shown us that, even if at times we've thought where is the high we're looking for.
Even just beating Bones Highland in a free throw contest with his left hand, like that's the type of stuff where he's a total gamer.
That's the thing.
He's missing some of the dog, but what have you. Number 4, Facu Campazzo. You don't make it into the league at 4'11" unless you are an absolute dog. He was a chihuahua, as it were, but the man had dog at him.
Not a great outside shooter. Not great at finishing at the rim.
Yeah, that's right.
My height.
Yeah, he's not an NBA player.
Decorated international player, and even did make the NBA for a little bit. How did he do it? Dog.
Pure dog, man. That guy
Dog.
ate glass for breakfast. Whatever you thought of his skill set and how he played, that was man. And he even would get in people's faces. Like he had one guy he really hated. Who was it? Do you guys remember? There was a player, and I'm
That
trying to
wanted to
remember who
fight
it
him.
was.
There was a player that wanted
every
to
time
fight
they
him.
matched up, because I think they had an international beef. The chat's gonna have to remind me who it was.
Was it Chris Paul?
No,
Chris Paul hated him, but there was
well-
another guy that tweeted that he wanted to fight Facu.
Facu wanted to fight
Wayne
everybody.
Ellington or something.
To be honest, Facu had more dog in him than Jamal.
Well, do you want to know the ultimate? Because someone in the chat's like, "What even is this conversation? Like, what is this stuff?" Look up the clip of Ben Simmons getting ran through by Facu. Like he's setting a screen, and Facu runs through him like a car.
Right.
And you know what that clip is? That's dog. Like
Yeah.
that's what Facu had that Ben Simmons didn't and never did, and history.
Also,
proved
what
that
is this
right.
conversation? Have you ever played sports of any type? Like people understand
It
that there is
matters.
this,
It
this
just
concept
matters.
of like somebody that is just tougher.
Does it mean he's worth a max at age 35?
Absolutely
No.
not. Because like the next
No.
Facu on the list, and then the last guy, Kale. I think the last guy we're gonna have, Jamichael Green. Actually, by the way, Yoke's favorite player.
This
favorite
feels,
teammate.
This feels wrong. Except then, if I thought about guys who I wouldn't want to be even a little bit mad at me.
No, totally.
He's way up the list.
But if you went after J. Mike, we had like Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Brown, Will Barton had that dog in him, even though
Yeah,
he
I think
didn't
Brown's-
point it in the right direction.
Not always.
But after that, the point is not a lot. There are teams that have guys that would break this, 3 or 4 guys that would break this list just in 1 year. Denver, it's not a trait that Denver has had a ton of. It's not to say they've been soft, but I don't know that they've had just guys, iconic dog in them guys.
No, and they've been good without it. But it is a thing that I think we've had this conversation at different times over the last 5 years. Like they don't, maybe they're too, and I think we've heard it articulated in different ways. Like, oh, Richard Jefferson kind of said that they were quiet or boring. And we used to, Jokic wasn't a vocal guy at first. And so, but I do think they've lacked a little bit of that just, it's okay to have some FU.
Yeah.
And I think having some from Westbrook will help this team.
And again, this stuff does matter. That's why I'm kind of blown away that anybody could think this stuff doesn't matter. There's this scene in Yellowstone where Kevin Costner walks in, there's a security guard, and he just like punches him right in the face to kind of like disarm him or whatever. And the guy, as he's walking out, he's like, "You're lucky you caught me with a sucker punch." He's like, "I ain't lucky. I'm just meaner than you."
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a fighter, man. You're not a fighter like
Yeah.
me. He's like, "Yeah, but I'm meaner." So it doesn't matter. And it's true, man. Sometimes in sports, it's like, "Oh, you can shoot better and do this." I'm meaner. I'm just meaner, and I'm gonna make that my calling card. Westbrook's mean. Bruce is mean. Facu was mean.
I agree. I loved how mean Bruce was. First of all, Bruce was bullying D'Angelo Russell, like bullying him in front of a national audience in the Western crowd. He was calling him out on the floor, off the floor, and I honestly think that contributed to, like, Malone and Bruce had clearly identified a touchy spot. Should Russell play? How much responsibility should he have? How confident is he right now? And Malone kind of prodded at it. Bruce like jammed his fingers in the wound, you know, and he just dug in there. And I honestly think that helped. I think it helped. I don't think Michael Porter Jr. has a lot of that, you know? And if you remember, like, Murray had that quote, or Russell rather had that quote years prior about how you don't want to be Michael Porter Jr. in the playoffs. You don't want to be the mark on defense. And then the Nuggets turned Russell into the mark, and Bruce let him know. I always thought that was Bruce having Porter's back. And I just loved that. I just loved for the first time, Denver had a little bit of like, no, we're the bully too. Yeah. And I thought that was good.
And it is interesting in hindsight to look back and say Jamichael Green, who barely played, and Yoke was like, "I want him on my team forever." Like, I really do think he was saying, "I want that energy on our team forever."
Yeah.
Is really what he meant. And Denver maybe lacked it last year. All right, let's take a break. On the other end, we're going to talk about the offense, which 5th last year in offensive rating. Will it be better or worse? And is it actually the bigger concern? We're going to break down the numbers on the other side. Good job, dude.
We're so excited to partner with our friends at UC Health. And listen up. If I'm not enough to capture your attention, how about this? Coach Prime wants to help you and other Coloradans be your healthiest selves as the Chief Motivation Officer of UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge. The goal of this challenge is to get Colorado back to its rightful place as the healthiest state. And this year, Chief Motivation Officer Prime is joined by his other personas: Nutrition Prime, Exercise Prime, Sleep Prime, Mindfulness Prime. Each Prime persona breaks down how to dive into each area of the Ready, Set, Co mindset. Each of the 5 primes is here to motivate, help, and inspire you. All you have to do is join up. Sometimes people are all about being in the gym. Sometimes people just prefer a lifestyle of, let's say, enjoying some of the other recreational stuff in Colorado, like the beer. I think the healthiest lifestyle, personally, is about balance. Life's about balance. And a better you makes for a collectively better Colorado. If you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge, click the link in the show notes on this podcast, or go to www.uchealth.org/ready, set, co. And if you're trying to co up into the mountains, you might want to be driving a Toyota, or maybe you're just looking for a nice smooth drive through the city streets of Denver.
Are you kidding me? Driving to the mountains in a Toyota, way better than driving to the mountains in another car.
Oh, it's so true. With Toyota, you can find whatever you're looking for here. If you're looking to go off-road, if you're looking to find a nice balance, again, these options are available for you. Even low emission and zero emission options are available for you. No matter what kind of Coloradan you are, there's a Toyota for you. So do yourself a favor and visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Gru Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle, a proud partner of the Denver Nuggets and the official vehicle of DNVR.
We are so back. All right, let's get into this. Offense versus defense. Now, this is a funny question because we're 10 years into the Jokic era. It's never been a question in a single season what was the better end of the floor for the Nuggets. They were an offensive team that had to focus to get their defense up. But this is a unique year because the Nuggets' three-point shooting is such a big question mark. Even last year, it wasn't great. There's mysteries about the young guys. There's mysteries about their depth. There's just all these mysteries about their offense, which, as great as it's going to be, and we think their offense will certainly be good, it's not as much, to me, it might not be as much of a lock to be as effortlessly great as it has been in previous years. They were 5th last year in offensive rating. Do you agree with that at all? Or are we just kind of living? And the other part of this is they got to the playoffs and their offense struggled. We'd never really seen it to that degree when Murray at least was part of the team. We did see it when he wasn't healthy. But do you think that it's like, come on, man, the Nuggets are going to be a top 5, 6 offense, even if things go mediocre?
Probably. I mean, there's a Jokic floor here that is somewhere. Like, if it's not top 5, it's top 8 or whatever. Yeah. But I do have a little concern. Last year they clearly fell off a certain tier in terms of generating and knocking down 3-point shots, in my opinion. It was somewhat worrisome to me in the regular season. Definitely was worrisome in the playoffs. And I think you can kind of start there as far as the rating across these 82 games. Braun in for KCP, what impact does that have? And the addition of Westbrook, who is not a 3-point shooter. However, in a perfect world, is he a guy that drives and kicks and generates threes? I'm hopeful. But I am, you'd think with a guy like Jokic, you just have an army of shooters that are open around him all the time. But in truth, this team, I think, doesn't shoot a ton of threes. And I'm a little worried about how far they've slid away from. It's one thing to zag, but threes are still a really important part of the modern game. So that's where I'd start.
And this is the question that, like, how much is Denver really aiming for this? You know, how much are they wanting to get more 3-pointers? Like, I've mentioned this before. I actually said this on the low post a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Michael Malone.
Nice. That was good, dude.
Come on, man.
No, it was seamless.
Because it's literally referencing it.
It was good. I loved it.
That the 3-point thing, Michael Malone traditionally has not seemed to be too bothered by, but more importantly, the pace. Denver plays a slow pace. And that's one way to inject more offense, especially at home. You get a homestand, man, get the pace going. Teams come in here, you just run them off the court. Michael Malone has never been a guy that seemed to be that interested in that. So is that a thing that's going to improve? And if not, okay, you bring Westbrook in. You lose a couple shooters, you elevate Peyton Watson and Christian Braun, but you're going to play a half-court slow-it-down game. That's like augmenting the weakness of not having shooting in some ways. I'll be honest, I would not be surprised if Denver's offense was not top 5 this year, as it is kind of you just pencil them in for being top 5. And some of this is, over the course of the regular season, the NBA has been gamified by some of these teams like the Boston Celtics, where if you take 43s a game, you're probably going to have a top 5 offense. Denver's not going to do that, and I just think it gets a little hard in the regular season.
Yeah, exactly. Talking offensive, and it's not. And look, ultimately, still in the regular season, no matter how many threes they're taking, the Jokic numbers, the starters, like they're going to be more than good offensively. But you typically just pencil in really, really poor numbers the bench numbers when Jokic is off the floor. And so if that's not buoyed by some sort of like high 3% 3-point rate, it's quite possible that they don't look elite in the regular season. I'm prepared for it.
Jokic played 2,700 minutes last year, 79 games. I don't think he plays that many this year. Forget the games. I just think the minutes, 2,700. I would bet he plays 2,400. I would bet they cut 300 minutes off of him, which is probably another 6-7 games, and then maybe 45 seconds per game down throughout the course of the year. You probably get more from Jamal Murray, although who knows? 59 games last year at 1,861 minutes. But Aaron Gordon, same thing, 73 minutes last year, 2,300 minutes. I think that probably goes down a little bit. Just naturally, you probably have to lower it. All of those things. And then Michael Porter, forget this, basically 2,600 minutes from him. He obviously boosts the offense and is part of the shooting. I think we get less from him.
Yeah.
Just because there's no way he's playing 81 games again. I mean,
whether it's rest or whatever, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
But can I ask you, when you say you think it'll be lower, is that just out of necessity? Is that because you believe there will be rotation changes, or the new personnel? Like, sorry, how would you?
I think the offense will be a little less this year because of the shooting, and you'll probably have some games where you played well but lost because of shooting. More so than you've had in past. On top of that, but the bigger reason, that to me is like, all right, they went from 5th to 6th, 5th to 7th, something like that. But the real thing is, I just don't think Michael Porter and Jokic are going to play as many games.
Yeah, I agree.
Or as many minutes even, and that's the tough part. Let's go through the numbers here. They were 6th in offensive rebound percentage, but 14th in second chance points, which is very strange. So they were 14th in second chance points per 100 possessions last year in the regular season. That's a number I expect to go up. That's one area where I think Denver's actually going to be better next year. I think they're going to be one of the better offensive rebounding teams and second chance points teams in a way that helps.
I hope so. You think Russ will help here? Christian will help here? I would think even more minutes from Peyton should help. Not actually familiar with how Saric helps in this area.
He's a good, more defensive rebounder than offensive rebounder, but he is good at it. And more importantly, one of the ways you gain offensive rebounds is by stretching the center out. Like the center grabs up most of your rebounds on most teams.
Right.
Saric might be able to allow that second unit to play outside where DeAndre and Zeke didn't necessarily.
Yeah, I agree.
So maybe there's more opportunity for your second unit guys to get in there and grab boards. Denver was 9th in turnover percentage. Adding Westbrook, lack of shooting, this is a number I'm worried about. Denver is at their worst when they're turning the ball over. 9th is not bad, given how much they pass the ball. I think next year they're probably 15th to 20th in turnover percentage.
I think so too. You add a ball handler in Russ, that's great, but he is a guy who will turn the ball over. I do wonder how free at all Christian will or should be to dribble. KCP did a little, he was never playing point, but they would let him dribble. They would let him run some DHOs, especially when Jamal was out. And he at least had some floor there. Like some capability. How much does Braun have? Will he help in this department or hurt? I could see this. I could see this being more of a problem next year.
Effective field goal percentage. Denver was 8th. This is where they're good. They don't get to the foul line. So 24th in free throw attempt rate, one of the worst, we all know, but really good at just making shots every time down court. I don't know if the making shots part, it'll probably go down a little bit because, again, you lose KCP, you lose some of that efficiency. You add Westbrook, whose effective field goal percentage is always terrible.
Right.
But the 24th in free throw attempt rate, I think these two things are going to cancel each other out. I think Denver will get to the line a little bit more. They're big. They're more athletic than they have been in previous years, and athleticism is the number one way you draw fouls. Westbrook, I think he'll help draw fouls, but I do think that it'll cancel because they'll probably shoot worse.
I will believe it when I see it with the free throw rate, but I understand your logic of it getting better, more favorable for Denver. I will also say I still do, even after the playoffs, even after that series, love this about Denver. I really do. I think it makes them built for more competitive games, that they just, generally speaking, are really good at finding and making the tougher shots than they are just kind of flailing and getting to the line. I think they're typically better prepared for it.
Here's an interesting thing for you. Free throw attempts per game, or free throw attempts total last year in order for the Nuggets. Let's play a game. Take a guess. Who's number one? It's Jokic. He's got the ball all the time. He gets the line. Everything's always Jokic. Yeah. Number two, who would you guess took the most free throws?
Last year?
Overall, not per game, just total.
I would guess Jamal Murray.
It was Aaron Gordon. He missed all those games, so it's part of why.
That's right.
So it's Aaron Gordon. Third is Jamal Murray. Fourth, because those three you would guess in some order, right? Jamal, Aaron Gordon, Yoke.
It wasn't MPJ, was it?
Nope. He doesn't get to the line.
That's what I thought.
It was Christian Braun.
Yeah.
Who did not play a ton of minutes, 1,650 minutes, which is a lot, but you expect him to play more, and he gets to the line. So you add Westbrook, who gets to the line. Christian Braun elevates, which he is good at getting to the line, at least, relative to the role he's in. I think Denver is going to take more free throw attempts. Now, those guys aren't necessarily great free throw shooters, Westbrook is. 15th in fast break points. This is the one that's going up. Denver's going to have more fast. I think they're going to play faster next year. I think fast break points are going to be on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, that's, first of all, CB is going to be, I think Yoke's going to love pushing up the floor to CB after rebounds. CB is going to run.
Yep.
And Yoke, it's really apparent right now watching the Olympics, he's so badly, every rebound, his first instinct is, can I just chuck this thing?
Yep.
I think CB will be helpful there for sure. Obviously, Russ should be helpful. Just playing Peyton more should be helpful. It's the easiest way that a handful of these guys can score.
Right.
So it should, you want it to be up for sure.
And let us know in the chat, by the way, if you think some of these stats are going up or down, or if you don't think they are, if you disagree with us. Points in the paint, Denver was second last year. This is their calling card. They own the paint. I don't know that they're going to have a drop-off because they're going to get points in the paint in other directions, like Westbrook, like Christian Braun, like, hopefully Peyton Watson. So I think they have guys that can do it, but points in the paint is tied to how much you can spread a team out. And I do think teams are going to pack the paint a little bit more. I think this one's going to be close. Going up means they will be first. I don't think that'll happen, but I also don't know that they're going to drop out of the top five. I think points in the paint is still going to be the thing that they're really good at.
Yeah, I do too. And maybe Braun won't provide the same spacing.
Yeah.
But I actually think he's going to be the guy that provides the most cutting outside of Aaron Gordon, since maybe Gary Harris. I just think that's what he's going to do. So maybe it's still Jokic finding him in the paint. Jokic is still going to touch the ball and score a lot in the paint. And I am hopeful it's something Jamal can do a little bit more going forward. Like, I love how crafty he is in the mid-range and the pick and roll, but at times, I think this team, someone just go. It's why I like the Russ audition to some extent. Someone just go into the teeth of the defense, right? Just force them to collapse or draw a foul.
The bench, without Jokic last year, they had a 107.4 offensive rating, which is obviously not great. I don't know that it's going to be a great offense off the bench this year. I think they can be effective, but I kind of think we're going to be looking at least the offense that has nights where they're just horrible. They can't make any shots, and it's rough. So would I say better than a 107.4 offensive rating without Yoke? I'll say yes. I think it's slightly better on offense than it was this last year. There were some rough stretches for that offense.
Yeah, I think we don't know what the bench looks like. Is it going to be Jamal alongside Russ? Probably.
We don't know.
But we don't know.
Probably.
We don't know. And
I think it's Mike, man.
Yeah, and I would feel a little bit better, but just because of Russ Murray at the same time, I think is, I don't know. But I'm hopeful Mike can stagger. The thing with the bench, dude, is it's just, even if you like the personnel they've brought in, until we see it, I don't think your expectations have to be capped because they've just never been able to figure this out.
So if we just go through it real quick, worse shooting, effective field goal percentage, more turnovers. We think probably better offensive rebounding, better free throw rate, fast break points, and the same points in the paint, and the bench more or less the same, maybe slightly better on offense. It's weird because when you check the boxes, it's like only 2 things worse and 4 things better. But shooting is not one thing. Shooting is a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I think offensively this year will be harder. And then more to the point, minutes for Jokic, Michael Porter, I think fewer this year. So I'm going to say if Denver was 5th in offense this year, I think they're going to be like 7th next year. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, me too. I think, but
slight step back.
But I also think
Regular season.
I would probably say I'm gonna call 8th the absolute floor.
Okay.
Like you could be Jokic and floor Shaq Harrison's. You're probably gonna figure it out. You know.
But their defense, they have some guys coming through the ranks that I think are going to be very impactful defensively. So we'll talk about that on the other side.
We've got the money games coming up here in the Olympics for team men's basketball. And if you've got a good feeling about how it's going to shake out, who's going to medal, you can put your money where your mouth is at Bet365, where they don't do ordinary. They believe every sport should be epic. And right now, new customers can choose between 2 offers when they open an account at Bet365. Use the code DNVR365 to sign up. Deposit $10. Choose between either a bet and get offer, place a bet of $5 or more, and get $150 in bonus bets, or a first bet safety net offer by placing a bet up to $1,000. And if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund in bonus bets. You have to be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And you know, at the DNVR bar, we're an events bar, baby, whether we're hosting them here at the bar or elsewhere. We want you guys to be tapping into all that we offer here. And you can by keeping tabs at the DNVR events page on our website, or of course, follow us on social to stay up to date with all we've got going on. For example, tailgate season is right around the corner. DNVR is the best tailgate in the city at the back lot of Sports Fan and 18th and Federal. You can even start the party early with the bus from the DNVR bar. Tickets are available for all home games now at thednvr.com/events. Buffs, they're road tripping to Nebraska this year to cheer on the Buffs with True Fan Travel. The package includes an all-inclusive tailgate party, hotel stay, tickets to the game, and a meet and greet with the DNVR
Dude, our Buffs tailgate stuff are epic, man. Especially on the road, they draw some incredible crowds. Nuggets fans, we got to step up our game.
It's crazy, man. And of course, you know, we'll be back this season with our takeover events, and so will the Avalanche. So stay up to date on all things events. Follow us on social at DNVR_sports, or go to thednvr.com/events to check out our calendar.
Let us know how many diehard or takeover events you want. Last year, what did we do? 4? Kale, do you remember? I think we did 4 takeovers. It feels like the right number, but maybe you're somebody out there who's like, why don't we do one like every month? You know, maybe we do a couple extra. I don't know.
We did do 4-0 at the games, 4 sellouts.
Man, was it us?
It was a good. I'm just
Was
saying.
it us? I mean, you're just giving the facts.
Don't rule it out.
Defensively last year, the Denver Nuggets were 8th in defensive rating, which is pretty good for the Jokic era. Top 10, pretty good mark. But if you look at it, Christian Braun is a really good defensive player. He replaces KCP. We can call that a wash. Maybe it's a step back for Denver. Maybe it's a step up. All 3 things are on the table when you just talk about Christian Braun, because he's a different kind of defender than KCP.
Yeah.
We'll see how effective he is. But Peyton Watson's a really good defender. Really good. And he elevates now to a more prominent role. Dario Saric, I mean, Denver last year, DeAndre Jordan, Zeke Nnaji, it wasn't exactly a murderer's row of defensive players. Dario Saric is not a great defensive player, but how much does that hurt? Julian Strawther, not a great defensive player, but he has length. Then you get to Russell Westbrook. Can be an impact defensive player because he brings athleticism, but he's not like a shutdown, especially at this stage of his career, not a shutdown player. Some lateral stuff there. I don't know. But I will say that Peyton, their best punch defensively feels better than it was last year, just because you lose KCP, but you add Christian and Peyton into larger roles. They're more established. Denver's going to be bigger than ever. I actually think Denver has a defensive upside that's exciting. This has a chance, in my opinion, to be Denver's best defensive team that they've ever had. I'm not saying it for sure will happen, but that's the upside play that you have here. Is it's like, man, you look at the end of the year, Denver's a top 5 defense.
Yeah, I mean, increasing Watson's role is the obvious starting point there.
Yep.
He is a stud on that end, and you already have Christian Braun in the starting lineup. Are there times where you feel like closing both of them is an option, is necessary? You see the upside. The CB-KCP comparisons are tough because I think you could argue for certain matchups, maybe a lot of matchups, CB was the better option for just staying in front of a guy, a little bit bigger and stronger. But KCP's screen navigation was this very specific thing that he was arguably the best in the world at. Draymond Green shouted that out in their conversation together on his podcast. Can CB do that? Will CB do that? I think maybe that, like you said, they're different defenders. I I don't know how much of a drop off it'll be, but I kind of think you start with they're slightly worse in the starting five. That's how I feel. And then we'll see how much Malone deviates from just playing the starting five together at all. But look, any lineup that has CB and Watson in it is going to be terrific defensively. So I'll say they'll be slightly worse this year.
I mean, so people are still on me for the Saric. Here's the thing. It's not about, is it hard to say? It's that when you learn a guy's name one way and then it's like Nikola. Like, we learned Nikola for several years before anybody was like, actually, it's Nikola.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, it's hard to rewire your brain. So the Saric thing, as much as it's on my mind, it's still
also not
take some time.
Not our tongue, man.
We'll also wait to see what Dario Saric said, because there's a chance that he's like, yeah, man, Saric, it's American.
Yeah.
Like, I don't say we're going to France. Whereas they're playing the final in Paris. Is that right?
Yeah, and there are some people who don't want you to try to pronounce their name in their language because you're speaking English. But
It does better, yeah. I used to love whenever I would travel. I would love the pronunciation of my name. You know, it's like makes it way more interesting.
I know. A lot of people have trouble with Brendan, actually, internationally. Really? Yeah.
Brendan?
Yeah.
It seems like the easiest name
You'd
to say.
think.
Kale's an easiest name to say, actually.
But
that's
but here we go.
Those
It's a great
sounds are
example.
in every language.
No, but my name's a good one
It's a
because
good example.
like Kale, it's Kale in America, but like my name is Kale. Like
I would be so mad if you made us call you Kale.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
But like that's my name.
That being said, everybody's a little bit different. All right, let's go through the numbers here defensively. Denver was 15th in defensive rebound percentage, which I find interesting. This is about how you get stops. You have to clear the board. Again, Westbrook, Christian Braun, good at clearing the boards. Dario Saric is actually really good at clearing the boards. You elevate him. I think this is an area Denver will have a strength. I just think Denver's going to be the number one rebounding team in the NBA next year. It's always been a strength, but I think this year it'll be even more.
The number one rebounding team, full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah, I was going to say...
They're always like top three.
I was going to say that the rebounding numbers are all up for me. That's the upside of the current iteration. I think Saric will help in that regard. Saric. I know CB will. I hope CD has that kind of like Malone should put a whiteboard by CB's locker and it just has the word rebound circled like 9 times. And CB should have to tap it on his way out. Because I just think he can be such a tipping point in that battleground if he just throws himself at it. But yeah, CB, Westbrook, Saric should all help. I think the rebounding goes up this year on both sides.
I just realized because, Perpich is, you should care about how you call him. It reminds me of the scene in Pulp Fiction, by the way. Happy birthday to Pulp Fiction, 30 years old. One of the greatest movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. Is the line in there where he says, like, what does your name mean? He's like, I'm American. Our names don't mean shit. I do think this is true of, like, in America, a name is a name. My name's Adam Mares. People call me Adam Mares all the time. You know what it makes me feel? Nothing. Like this, I'm like, I don't know, whatever. But to some people, it is different, and I think to some cultures, it's like, no, this means something. So probably a cultural thing there we can all appreciate. Third in opponent effective field goal percentage, meaning Denver held teams to really bad shooting. I think this is an area Denver can be great at. If you say they're going to clear the glass, but here's the thing, Christian Braun is huge. He's bigger than, both physically stronger, but also longer than KCP. Peyton Watson's enormous. He's like a good rim protector because of how long he is. Westbrook brings athleticism and length. This is the biggest team of the Jokic era. I think there's a chance that teams just don't shoot well against Denver because my theory is a lot of shooting is about where you contested with length. Denver will have more length than ever. How are you better than third is tough.
It's such a hard thing because so much is shot luck too, especially with 3-point shooting. It's like, I think 3-point defense matters, but there's a lot of uncontrollable stuff going on there too.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, man. It's really hard to say. I'm buying your logic that they're more athletic. If Watson plays more, they're longer. So I hope they fly around. By the way, that's one thing that's really impressed me about Team USA is just their commitment to flying around defensively. Like they're contesting a lot of shots. And I just thought maybe that'd be the kind of thing they don't do as a team. It just reminded me, of course, it's so much easier to do in tournament play, but with young guys like CB and Peyton, are they going to bring a little more across 82 of just like absolutely flying around? Hopefully, because they're still young and they can handle it. Although that said, KCP was such a hard worker, man. Never took a possession off. 21st in opponent free throw attempt rate is bad.
Like, they actually fouled a lot and put player teams on the line. I don't know if this is going to be better or worse. I'd honestly it's hard to quantify. 26th in opponent turnover percentage. I actually think Denver, especially that second unit, Westbrook, we're going to add Peyton Watson most likely. Maybe there's some Christian Braun minutes in there. Athleticism, I think that Denver should make their second unit identity turning teams over. Speeding up the game and turning teams over is a good identity, especially if you have Russell Westbrook. And they were 21st. This is an area that I think Denver can improve and just create, 26th. I think they can improve here. 13th in opponent points off of turnover. Denver turns it over. That number might go up, so that's one area where it might get tougher as you're giving teams easier baskets, on fast breaks. They were 10th in opponent second chance points, which is about average. I think they'll be slightly better there.
I hope so, man.
Clear the glass, man. Clear the glass. And then 11th in opponent fast break points. Again, pretty average. We'll see how they are there. 22nd in opponent points in the paint. Dario Saric, not exactly a rim protector.
Yeah, I don't feel like this has changed much, man.
And then 116 defensive rating without Jokic. I almost have more. Man, I don't know. Denver got both better and worse defensively on their bench.
Well,
Dario Saric probably worse. Julian Strawther probably worse. Peyton Watson better.
But Russ also worse, to be honest.
Worse than Reggie Jackson?
Well, strong counter, and you have me changing my mind. Yeah, I just thought kind of baseline.
I actually think Reggie Jackson was sneaky one of the worst defensive players. Like, made the most mistakes that cost a point. Not like, whatever, but like, Reggie, that was your rotation. He just didn't do it.
Yeah, man, Reggie was not very good. But that's such a good point. I guess my point with Russ is like the high motor stuff. He's also still a 35-year-old guard who was an MVP in a former basketball life. And it's just, he's not going to make any all-NBA teams is all. So it's not Shaq Harrison.
All right, so we think Denver, we said 7th maybe in offense. 5th to 8th is kind of what we think in offense next year. With a chance of being better, but I'm going to say 5th to 8th. Give me a range that you expect them to be defensively this year, knowing that last year where they were 8th.
They were 8th. I'm going to say this year they are 8th to 10th.
I'm going to go 5th to 8th. I think this is a defensive year for the Nuggets, and I would not be surprised if we look up and they're 5th in defense and 7th in offense. Just what they were last year, but flipped. By the way, that formula got them to 57 wins last year. That would be a very, very good year. But I just think that Peyton Watson, Christian Braun are really good defensive players, and this is their chance to really put their stamp on the defense of this team, and it could be good.
And, I mean, look, there's a chance you're really leaning on these guys anyway from this premise of you don't want the starters to play a million minutes together. And those guys definitely coming off the year they have, their takeaway isn't going to be we should play harder on defense in 82 games. So the path to that is CB and Watson playing a lot. But that's what they can do. So I'm excited to see how much of an unlocked Peyton Watson can bring on that side.
Let us know in the comments. If you're watching live, let us know in the Toyota chat. If you're watching later on, let us know in the comments below, because I'm curious if people think Denver's going to be better offensively or defensively next year. I think it's going to be close. Maybe you think it's easy. Let us know, because I'm genuinely curious what people's expectations are. On the other side, we'll just take this quick little bumper break, but on the other side, prop bets. No, we don't even have to hit the bumper. Tomorrow.
I learned that while you were out.
Tomorrow, we have quarterfinal games and vote. Are you more nervous or excited?
Excited. Because I don't. First of all,
we're feel quite the same.
We're pro Jokic. We're first of all, we're pro Jokic over here, just in case you haven't noticed. So as far as Jokic versus USA. You may, if you're new to the program, you may be expecting us to root for USA.
Well, tomorrow's Australia, though.
No, I know. I'm just sort of outlining the whole thing. Canada, I'm not nervous at all because I expect them to win. And it just doesn't feel like there's as much at stake. Like, the truth is, Jamal is a small part of this team. That could change as they win together and his role grows. But like Jokic has like a Serbian legacy on the line. Jamal doesn't have much of a Canadian legacy here. So I don't think the community would be like devastated if they lost. I also think they're going to win. So I'm more excited than anything, I would say.
I'm excited, but I'm nervous, man. I mean, like I said, I want this for Serbia just because I know how big it means, both to Jokic's individual legacy, but man, I was thinking about this and why I like the Olympics so much. Sometimes, like when we made the documentary, 100 Visible Threads, the guy Milos, who was the main interview that was really helping me tell the story of, the history of basketball in Yugoslavia and their golden generation in the 90s. The win in 95 at Eurobasket was so meaningful to an entire generation of Serbians. Not just in inspiring the next era of basketball players, but also just personally it meant something. And I know how much it means something. And I desperately want Jokic to be able to give them that. Now, it does suck because I feel like there's no hope in beating the Americans. So you almost throw out this idea of gold. But at the same time, I don't want it to be a quarterfinal loss. I remember how gutted I was when they lost to Italy 2 years ago. And I was just like, damn, man, it feels like it was all wasted because you want to get something. So for me, I'm a little nervous. I actually carry this weight because I want it for Jokic and I want it for Serbia. So I have a nerves to it. That being said, Serbia is favored on Bet365's Never Ordinary Sportsbook app. Those are the numbers we're going to be using. They are favored by 7.5, which is a lot. It's actually the second most. U.S. is favored by 26.5, but 7.5 vote. That would be like the Nuggets versus the Jazz this year. Would be 7.5.
Sorry. One more time. Who's favored by 7.5?
Serbia.
Serbia. I mean, dude, Serbia's really good. I mean, they also have the 3-time MVP. So there's
he's going up against, right?
Yes, I do.
Jock Landale.
I do. Jock Landfill. No, I mean, Serbia should be a big favorite. I think they looked really good in the other games, and I think they have Jokic. So
I think they have Jokic
that
too.
Doesn't surprise me.
His wrist at all concerned, though? 20.5 points is the line. 20.5. Remember, at international, guys don't score quite as much, but 20.5 points, where would you go? Over or under?
I'm going to say... Oh, it's so tough. I'm going to say over. It's just hard for... I'm going to say over.
I'm going over, and I feel less concerned about it. I think tomorrow's a monster Yoke game, and I think he's going to get frustrated. I think they're going to foul the hell out of him, and he needs to keep his cool under pressure. It's one thing, we're talking about how edgy he has been, how grouchy he has kind of seemed. He needs to be locked in emotionally tomorrow because I do think it's going to be an annoying game where Jock Landale is like my height. He's just going to foul the heck out of him. I think he's going to foul Jock Landale out. Honestly, I would pick Jock Landale to foul out. We'll talk about him in a second. But 20.5 points, I think Yoke needs to give us a 28-point game tomorrow, which in NBA terms, if you adjust that for an extra 8 minutes, is probably like a 34-point game. I think he needs to give us about a 28-point game tomorrow.
Maybe. I actually think this particular Serbian team...
It's where the weakness is, though. Their front court is their weakness.
Well, he very well could. I'm just saying, he could also have 20, 15, and 8. But I think it starts with him in this matchup for sure.
Here's the one. What is the lock we always do when it's big game for Yoke? What's the bet? Do you remember? What stat does he always get in a big game?
A double-double?
No. Rebounds. Always in big
Close.
games. You can't always count on points because, shots or this or that. But rebounds are the one thing. His line is 10.5, which is a lot. I think he beats it. I think Jokic goes for 14 rebounds tomorrow.
Yeah.
14, 15, and I would not be surprised if he has some kind of monster 18 rebound game. 7.5 assists is the one that I'm not so sure about. They have some smart players. I think smart teams know to make Jokic a scorer and to not give up the ball. Don't let the ball get popping. 7.5 assists would be the number I would be. If I had to take one of those as the under, that's the one I would take.
Yeah, it does feel like a 6 assister for him. But I mean, also if they're starting with him and they're not just looking to get a bunch of threes up, which they haven't really to this point, then yeah, I agree. But I think I don't think it's going to be 28. I think it's going to be like a 20-11 and 5er or a 6er.
20-11 and 5. Kale, what do you think? 20-11 and 5. I don't know if they win that game.
18, 13, and 12. I'm going triple-double.
Triple-double game. Oh, man, I would love a triple-double. I'm going to go... I'll just make it easy for us to remember. I'm going to go 30, 14, and 5.
You think he's getting 30?
I think he scores a bunch on Jock Landale. I think he gets to the line a bunch. They're too little, man. They're too little, but they are going to try to up the tempo and beat him with threes and everything else. Bogdanovic, 17.5 points tomorrow is his line. He's been, scoring, filling it up for him. He's actually their leading scorer. 17.5.
Let's take over. Why not?
Doesn't it make you think the game plan, though, is they have wings, they have defensive guys. Dyson Daniels can guard.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, I just think the way this team has played so far, it's not Yoke drop 30. It's Yoke drop 20 and then a bunch of guys are in double figures behind him and Bogey as well.
By the way, you see Josh Green has 0 points in 3 games.
I did not see that.
That's kind of wild, huh? I
That
thought
is
he
kinda-
maybe would be a little more.
I'm
entitled.
telling you, man, the Dallas role player mystique has plummeted.
Yeah,
It has plummeted.
Luka's getting some guys paid.
After the Western Conference Finals, if we just stopped there,
Yeah.
oh man, that front office looked like the smartest one in the league.
Oh yeah, you're right about this. You're right. Even like Derek Jones Jr. We'll see how good he is
Yeah,
now
yeah.
going somewhere else. Bogdanovich 2.5 threes.
Oof.
He's kind of been on fire in this tournament.
He's got to go over, right?
He was 4 of 6 in the last game.
I think if
gonna
I'm
get
here's the
shots.
thing, if I'm trying to beat a Jokic team ever, I'm always like make Jokic a score, shut down these other, especially if you're undersized. Like we don't have anybody to match up with Jokic, so even if we wanted to stop him, we couldn't. But don't let Bogey get going. We're gonna put all of our resources into that, and I kind of feel like it might happen.
I mean, okay, then Jokic just turn Jokic into a scorer. All right, good luck. But no, I don't know. Bogdanovich is just too involved in this team. You know, he's not like a role player. He's Jokic Murray.
Patty Mills, who I'm very scared of, 16.5 points. Patty Mills is the key for them, in my opinion. Like if they win, if you just told me like, oh, I saw the future, Australia beat Serbia, I'd be like, okay, so Patty Mills went off. Would he have 7 threes?
I know, but
that's the only path.
It's a little bit. Even internationally, he's a little bit over the hill.
He hasn't made any mid-range jumpers in this, but he has made his threes.
Although Serbian chat friends have been insistent that Serbia's 3-point defense has been really bad. So maybe. But I'm going to take the under, actually. I'm going to take the under. I think this one's a blowout.
Yeah, I was going to say, if Patty Mills is an under, I'm going to take blowout then. Then Jock Landale, 8.5 rebounds. The under on that is one of my favorite bets because, as I mentioned, I think he fouls out. I think he plays really hard but fouls out in this game.
Jock Landfill. Yeah, he had a nice 15 minutes of fame against Jokic for a bit there, but
It's so funny. He murdered him.
I know.
But you're right, somehow. But they won the game, so it was like he did his job. It's like maybe. We move to the other game here. Canada also 7.5 favorites over Team France. Which team is more likely to hit the under? Let's forget lose. Serbia and Canada both favored by 7.5. Which game do you think is more likely to be close?
Canada, France,
Really?
I think. Yeah, I do. I know France has struggled a lot. Canada doesn't have a lot of size, and that's the one thing France does. So they could get killed on the rebounding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, man, a little bit of home cooking. Could that happen? It is the home crowd. It is the
It's already
host.
happened once. I feel like that's you only
Just
get
subtle.
one.
Yeah, that's right. It was not subtle in the first one, but I'll say that. I actually think Serbia is going to roll, but and I like Canada too, but I do think
Okay.
I'll just say the size mismatch is enough to make it curious.
Let's see. This is a fun one. I'm going to zig so hard here. I think tomorrow is the Jamal Murray game.
Oh boy.
Part of me is like, here's the thing. They need 3-point shooting. France has rim protection all over. They have perimeter containment all over. I would not be surprised if Murray redeems himself and has a game tomorrow, or even just a flurry, just in one quarter where he goes off. His line is 8.5 points. I'm going to do this for vibes purposes, but I also think it's going to happen. I'm taking the over.
All right, man.
8.5. That's 3 3-pointers. Come on, Jamal.
That's a bold take right
It's
now.
the boldest.
It's the boldest take. What's the assist line? 4.5?
The assist is 4.5, which is kind of funny. I would take the under there.
Really? Because he had like 5 or 6 in the last
He's been
game.
diamond.
He has been
4.5
diamond.
is a lot, though.
It is off the bench, but also a lot of these assists are just like, hey, Andrew Nembhard.
I know.
But
Don't
no,
be a hater.
I'll take over on the assists though. I'll take over on the assists.
All right, what about these fun bets here? Kale, I'm getting reckless. I haven't bet in a while, so I'm like bad at betting at the moment. 15 plus points for Jabal. You could buy it up. Plus 600. Plus 600 if you get 15 points. It's not that much. Let's say, let me have the 4 pepper
Yeah, I think that's the right. I think that's a
All right,
good
let
rating.
me put it up for you.
That's a good rating.
Murray Fleury in the second quarter, he hits 3 3-pointers, okay?
Okay.
By the way, his threes off the board, they don't even give you a line for his threes. Let's say he has 3 3-pointers, or actually, you know what? Yeah, 3 3-pointers. He gets the 9 points and gets to the foul line, knocks down 2 3. He's got 11 points. Only needs 4 points in his next stint. You don't think that that's just a little mid-range? He's got it going already. 15 points for 6 plus 600? It's possible, man.
I just don't think that's how he's playing with this team. I think he's feeding guys. I
But
think
they need it
other
this
guys
game.
are taking a lot of shots away from him.
The paint's blocked off. They need shooting.
Look, he's got a chance. I would just say there is zero indication to this point that this is going to happen.
The last one here. Let's get really. I want to see how many peppers this one is, Kale. 20 plus points. If you think he really goes off, just has a good game. 20 points for Jamal. I haven't even said anything
In
yet.
the Olympics?
Plus 1,800. 1,800 if he just has a 20 piece.
Well, I mean, it's plus 1,800 for a reason, brother. I would say that there's next to no chance this happens. At some point...
How would you feel, though, if it did?
At some point, even if he has the Murray flurry, at some point we go, all right, bench stints over. Let's get SGA back out there. Dylan, get back out there. They don't close with him, bro.
Is there a chance, though, that, Team France, they're like, we're undermanned. We got to force Murray. We got to go somewhere. We got to send help.
Look, I know what Murray's capable of. I'm just not putting my money on that bet.
Bright light merchant?
That is true.
Elimination game?
That is true. We didn't factor that in.
Kale?
Here's all I'll say. I think there's next to no chance, but if it does, we're all going to feel so stupid for not betting it.
Well, you will. I'm betting it.
He's going to make us feel stupid.
I don't know if I go up to 20. I think I don't know if I'm going up, but I think that 15 piece, I might throw a little $5 on that one, man.
A little sprinkle?
Hit that outro music and let's hit some super chats.
It is so hot in the studio, man. My upper lip is sweaty. You ever get that? Cedric Exquisite. Defense is key. Got to win the chip with it. No Adam and no vote. I'm for real on my takes. I may say a lot, but I love you, fellas. Adam, for you, is CB ready to start?
Yep. I think CB is ready to start. I'm predicting he has a good year this year. I think CB has a good year.
Cedric Exquisite. No, Miroslav. I'm the goat of this chat and super chatting. And finally, it may look like it's not Cedric anymore, but it's still Cedric. Mr. Exquisite Nugget, TNT over Stephen A. Smith / ESPN. 1, America. 2, question mark. 3, question mark. Who y'all got for basketball? Silver, bronze.
I think I'm on record as saying Canada 2, Serbia 3. I don't feel great about it. I wish I had more balls to pick Germany to beat Canada, but I just think they're going to shut down Schroeder, and I think that's like the head of the snake for Germany.
Yeah, and Germany has like whatever this international thing of team play that we're trying to articulate is. Germany has it like in abundance, but what's different about this tournament is Canada has all their NBA players, so
they have defense, man. They just have
defense.
guys that can guard, so we'll see. That's kind of my prediction, but I'm telling you. Let me just sweat through this one game, and then I'll have a little bit of exhale. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us on a Monday. We're glad to be back. Lots of Nuggets talk today, but tomorrow we're going to be live right after the Canada game, which should be at our normal time. It should be right around 12:15, but it'll be nice because that will be a post-game show for both Team Canada and Team Serbia. Can't wait to talk to you guys about it tomorrow. Hit that like button on the way out.
We all silly like the mayor.